turnout's actually awesome. Thank you all for coming. There's one deviation in terms of the time allowance in the presidential candidate debate. When the working group met this afternoon, it was determined that there are some select questions that we think needed more time. So I will tell the candidate when those questions arise, and I think there's a handful that need 3 minutes, and I think one that we're going to give them 4. Each candidate will have an equal opportunity to respond to a set of questions. The questions were developed by a working group. It was open to anybody who wanted to participate. When things came down to it, there were a handful of us who ended up actually working through and sifting through the questions that we were presented, either in person, by telephone, by email, by our lovely Northern Cheyennes on Facebook, you name it. We took questions from anywhere that we could get them, and gleaned them down into 4 categories. So there will be a set of questions relating to the economy, to education, health, and human services. There's a set of general questions, and there's a set about government reform. So we are going to stick to time because we have a lot of ground to cover to get through all of our questions. In the coin toss, just a few minutes ago, candidate Robinson has gotten the position of giving his opening statement first, followed by candidate Killsback will have 2 minutes to give his opening statement. And candidate Killsback got the coin toss to be asked the first question, and then we will go and rotate from there, and John Robinson will be asked the next question. So are we all clear on the direction that we're headed? This should be really good. We put a lot of thought and work into the questions, and I think the community is really excited to hear what our candidates have to say. So we will get started. Is my timer ready? Okay. So we'll go ahead and start with your opening statements first. And candidate Robinson, you have 2 minutes to share with the audience whatever you would like to share.
Okay, thank you very much. It's really my pleasure to be here. It's really good to see so many of my friends and relatives here. I'm not going to bore you with my life history and all that. I'm going to tell you that it took me about 40 years to reach this point to where I made the decision to run for tribal president. And the reason is because I've observed the administrations in the past, and I've seen what works, and I've seen what doesn't work. And I believe that you're going to agree with me by the end of this evening that in order for our tribe to succeed, in order for our president to succeed, we have to bring an approach of unity. We have to bring an approach of not just act sovereign, but to be sovereign. We have to tighten up our administration. And I think that the people have to be involved in the process. A lot of the people feel that decisions are made and they don't know why. They don't know what their decisions are until after the fact. I don't know that, but I want to bring clarity into the administration. I want to bring into the administration a good reasoning of why decisions are made and how decisions are made. I think we have a lot of strengths in our tribe. We have strengths as far as we have over 10,000 tribal members. We have 444,000 acres. We've got our water, we've got our land, we've got everything that we need to be successful, but we are still dependent upon programs. I want to work with our people and with the Tribal Council to guide us to true economic independence. Thank you.
And we ask that you hold your applause, please, so that we can keep moving forward. We can applaud at the end.
My name is Jace Killsback. I've been on council for 8 years. I first got elected when I was 25. And I decided to run for president, first of all, because I'm of age now, I guess. 30 is the requirement. But I've survived 3 administrations. I've survived a number of councils. different demographics, different backgrounds, different policies. And what I've seen is a major lack of leadership, a major lack of vision for our people. And I've seen that on the council floor in some of the decisions we've made and some of the decisions I've opposed. And I think there's a need for a real change in the culture of our government, a real change for the betterment of our people. My vision is I see our families getting stronger. I see our children graduating from high school and going to college or getting a skill. I see them coming back home with a commitment to service to help our people. I think a lot of people forget that this job is a public service and not self-service. And I want to change that. A lot of people talk accountability. I think I've proven that in my record. A lot of people talk change, and I've proven that also with my record. One of the major things I have developed that hasn't been implemented is our principles to development. And those include having the people being in the decision-making process, making sure it benefits them, and making sure it benefits generations to come. I also see a real need to revitalize our culture and our language, and with that comes values and principles. So that is why I'm running for president. I hope.
Hold your thoughts, please. Thank you, both candidates. Okay, we're going to jump into our first set of questions, which are general questions. I believe they're all going to be 2 minutes apiece, and there are 8 of them. And three coin toss, candidate Killsback, you got the first question. The first time. Please share with the audience your top 3 long-term priorities upon taking office, and why are these your priorities?
Well, I mentioned in the beginning, health is important to me. And a priority of mine would be to change the paradigm of how we deal with health care and health on our reservation. And that would include bringing a cultural component into our programs that will allow for us to begin a healing process. We heal our spirits, we can heal our bodies. There's epidemics of diabetes and health disparities, and I would look at health as one of the priorities. The other priority, of course, is going to be economic development. And I think that we are on the right path with the current passage of our corporate charter, which creates a business board separate from council, so we're getting politics out of council. And if we could get politics out of business, if we could move forward with that concept and look at other tribes and what they're doing in the area of economic development to create jobs and businesses for our people, including small businesses. And third, really important, I think it's cultural revitalization. I think I really feel that our language is in a crisis. I made the comment before that add 45 years to the last Cheyenne speaker, youngest, and that's when you see our language being gone. And I really feel that it's important that we look at, for our younger generations, the revitalization of our culture. Three priorities that I would focus on first, and those include actual projects also. I think infrastructure is important for economic development. I think contracting services for IHS is important to healthcare. And I think the development of a museum and cultural center to revitalize our culture is also important. Those are 3 specific projects I would look at. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Robinson, the same question. Please share with the audience your top 3 long-term priorities upon taking office, and why are these your priorities?
One of the things we have to recognize right now is the fact that our government is living solely on grants, contract monies. We have very little money coming in from on our general fund. So we have the indirect costs. We know that the government, the federal government, who we're dependent on for some of most of these grant monies, they're in big trouble. They're getting ready, and they're proposing an 8% cut across the board. That's going to not only hurt our tribe, but that's going to cripple it. So before we can do any major programs on housing, on health, on education, on any of these areas, number one, we are operating without a plan. There is no plan in place. We should, for a business of this size, we should be operating with a 30-year plan, and we're not. We don't have a vision of where we're going. And these are important. So the planning has got to be a priority. And one of the things I planned, the way I'm going to address that is to hire a planner. Every program on the reservation has somebody in that planning capacity. We want to pull these people together to establish a reservation-wide plan, and then what we do for employment is going to affect the health, it's going to affect the education, all these things are going to work together. And we need to hire a grant writer to get the money in, go after foundation monies. The last thing is we need to make our programs, our tribal programs, more efficient. We need to make sure that we're doing what we say we're getting funded for, and that the people are receiving the services.
Thank you. Question number 2, and it's 2 minutes. And Candidate Robinson, we're going to go back to you first for this next question, and it's similar to the previous one. But the community wanted to know, what are your top 3 short-term priorities upon taking office? Maybe not the first day or the first week, but the short-term priorities upon taking office, and why are they your priorities?
Short-term priorities is to get the program managers online, to acquaint myself with all of the contracts and grants and all the funding that's coming in, and to make sure I have a full, complete understanding of why the money's coming in and what we're supposed to be doing, and then make sure that it's being done and what we need to do to get that done. Second thing is I want to establish an employee wage scale. Right now there's a disparity. We've got people doing the same job for different wages, and there's no apparent reason why that is taking place. We need to correct that. The third thing is we need to take a look at all of our policy manuals, and we need to make sure that we are operating by those manuals to the letter of the law. And the reason for that is there have been reports that the people say, those in power have said that this policy isn't working, and so they change it up and they go around it. Well, that's not the way it works. If the policy don't work, and they do need changing, they've been in place now for about 17 years. If they need changing, then they should go back to the council and be changed. But we want to make sure that we instill due process and fairness with the tribal employees. The tribal employees are the strength of our government, and the tribal employees are the ones that are also the messenger. They're the ones that deliver the services to you. We want to make sure they're treated fairly.
Thank you. Candidate Killsback. Question number 2, 2 minutes, up to 2 minutes if you need. What are your top 3 short-term priorities upon taking office, and why are these your priorities?
I agree with Judge Robinson on the first priority, to do a comprehensive program review, to look at our programs and our program directors and all of our personnel policies and manuals that operate our government. A lot of those are outdated. And I would move forward with looking at ensuring that the old policy, the good old boy system of who you know, not what you know, is no longer part of my presidency. And I would go strictly on qualifications and experience for these positions and these jobs. I think it's one of the important things our community is asking for. The second thing I would do is I would move forward strongly on Otter Creek and pick up where the last administration has left off and revisit the idea of impact aid money for the tribe to provide us infrastructure and capacity as a tribal government for our reservation. I think that's going to be a really important move, especially with the different elections going on nationally, regionally, and locally, which leads me into my third short-term goal would be to network. Network with other tribes, state agencies, national agencies, all the way up to our congressional representatives, and reach out to them. Let them know that we are doing a plan to better our reservation, our government, and our community. And that's going to start with one project. It's called the Community Mobilization Project, where we go and hear what the people want and what they need, and we try to meet those needs and include them in the vision for this nation.
Thank you. We're going to stay with you, Candidate Killsback, for the next question. 2 minutes. Question number 3. What do you believe are the characteristics that a tribal president should possess? And do you believe you demonstrate those characteristics?
I think that integrity is important. I think that being able to stand for what is right versus what is popular is important. And I believe I have part of that as my character. I also believe I have resilience and strength. I've endured a lot as a young council member. I've endured a lot from elder statesmen on the council in my time serving our people with different views and different agendas. I've always stuck to the idea that if it's for the people, it will be right. And I've endured, like I said, a lot of criticism, a lot of name calling, a lot of negativity in my position, and I withstood it. And I've been able to progress. I've been able to progress with projects, with legislation, even in my own life, progress personally, despite challenges. You know, I was trained by the people for 8 years to do this job, and I think I just need the chance to be the president. I was trained at an early age, going to co-ship, and then going off reservation to college. I think I learned a lot in the diverse world out there, in dealing with different people, and dealing with different cultures, to bring some insight that will help our people in the future. And I think the ability to always learn and not bring emotions into my decisions, and always do what's right for our people. And that's why that's a saying of mine. I speak, I work, and I fight for those not born yet.
Thank you. Candidate Robinson, 2 minutes. Question number 3. What do you believe are the characteristics that a tribal president should possess? And do you believe you demonstrate these characteristics?
Common sense, fairness, and honesty. And yes, I do believe I have these characteristics.
Thank you. We're going to stay with you for the next question. Question number 4, up to 2 minutes if you need. How would you describe your leadership and management style?
I believe in the strengths, building on the strengths. I've seen the old style where you get a new boss or you get a new administration, and they come in and heads would roll, and people critical to programs or whatever were without a job, and then other people were brought in, and it was based because they wanted change. They believed in change, and they believed that that's the way it is. The style that I have found that works for me is I go in and I evaluate. I've done this with every job that I've had. I evaluate. I look for the strengths and the weaknesses. I don't focus on the weaknesses. I focus on the strengths, because as you build on the strengths and you create a team effort, you have to bring the key people. If it's a small organization, every single employee. If it's a larger organization, the people critical to the success of that. You bring them together, you work on it. It takes teamwork, it takes effort, but it pays off because the end result is you have a quality service to the people, and that's what it's all about. That's the only reason that we're here in public office, is to do something for our people, and this is what works for me.
Thank you. Candidate Killsback. Question number 4, 2 minutes if you need. How would you describe your leadership and management style?
I lead by example. I hold myself to a high ethical standard, and I expect my co-workers to do the same. I also believe in the idea of consensus. I think there has to be an effort to work with the council. They are the decision makers, and the president's role is to enforce the law, enforce the resolutions that are passed. But I think it starts with having technical people being able to advise us on which laws or resolutions we are passing. I think it's important to get our smart Cheyennes involved in the decision-making process also. And we have key people that have experience in different venues that could assist us in developing policy, in developing laws to benefit our people here. And you know, I would go beyond, you know, these personal differences people have. Because again, it's for the people. We have to put these things aside. And I do agree also with the team approach. There is no one all that can save us. There is no one all that has all the great ideas. All the ideas I've heard in the past were all ideas before me. It's just implementing them is what we need to do. And that's the road I would take, and that's the path I would take in accomplishing goals and actions from the tribe.
Thank you. And we'll stay with you, candidate Killsback, for the next question. Number 5, up to 2 minutes. How do you feel you have conducted yourself ethically so far in your campaign?
I haven't done any smear campaigns. I haven't dug up the past. I haven't done anything to my opponent in regards to slandering his name. I'm keeping it focused on my goals. I'm keeping it focused on what I can do for our people. And I'm letting my record and my experience speak for myself. And I think that a big part of it is getting my information out there. Nothing to attack my opponent's personal life or anything of such. I think I'm able to be critical of his platform and also question some of his goals for our people. So keeping it professional, and that's what I was raised to do, and that's what I have a background in also, is having ethics.
Thank you. Candidate Robinson, question number 5, 2 minutes. How do you feel you've conducted yourself ethically so far in your campaign?
Well, I hope okay. You know, I guess I should have clarified this right from the get-go, is I am, Councilman Killsback and I are running for the same office, but I don't look upon it as I'm running against Mr. Killsback for that office. I'm here tonight to present to the public why I'm running for office, what I would bring to the office, and some of the things that I believe are of value, my strengths. So I don't really believe that there has been any ethical conflict that I'm aware of. To be honest, tonight's the first time I've heard Mr. Killsback's platform, simply because I'm running my own campaign and I've got my goals, and I'm pretty well fixed in why I made that decision to run.
Thank you. And we're going to stick with you, candidate Robinson. Question number 6 for 2 minutes. How active are you within our tribal community? Do you regularly attend community functions and tribal gatherings?
I'm pretty active tonight, all these DVD bins getting up and down. I am not as active as I would like to be. And the simple reason is, it goes back with my job, the job that I've held for a number of years, which is Chief Judge. We have, the Tribal Council has adopted the Judicial Code of Ethics. Now, one of the codes that we have to live by is we have to avoid the taint of impropriety. When I go out in a public setting, which I dearly love, that's why I'm really looking forward, no matter how this election goes, I get to get out there and be where the people are at again. But what happens is, when I'm out in the public setting, and I mean no disrespect to folks, because we all got a lot of issues going on, but there's a lot of people that have matters pending before the court, or that are going to court, or they need legal advice, or they have a relative or a friend or that has a legal issue, and they think that I should be able to work with them on it, and I would dearly love to, but I can't, because I would violate my code of ethics. So that has cut, because I have been very serious about the code of ethics as a judge and living by the ethical standards. I have made the decision not to put myself in that position.
Thank you. Candidate Killsback. Question number 6 for 2 minutes. How active are you within our tribal community, and do you regularly attend community functions and tribal gatherings?
Yes, I am very active in our community. I attend and also help coordinate and plan community events. Particularly in our district. I've been doing community open gym in Busby for about 7 years, 7.5 years now, which is for the youth and for the adults. And we do it about 4 or 5 days out of the week, depending on basketball season also, to ensure that people have someplace to go in the evening. I'm an advocate for healthy lifestyles, and I think the other community events I'm regularly seen at are our powwows, and of course our sporting events for our youth. I find that supporting our youth is important. Being visible in the community is part of our job. But too rarely you find council members or even our president that don't get involved in our community. I don't know if it's because of their fear of the decision they made at a council meeting, or with a hire, or with a contract, or whatever, that they choose not to come out into the community to, I guess, get some backlash. And like I said, I've faced that. I've faced being responsible for the decisions I've made in my role as a council member. And that means, again, still being part of the community. My family, my children are all part of the community. And I think that with the decisions we make at a government level, we should be able to stare our people in the face after those decisions are made, without fear of reprisal or without fear of attacks. And like I said, I've gotten both, but at the same time, it's not going to stop me from being with my people.
Thank you. Candidate Robinson, or actually, pardon me, we're going to stay with candidate Killsback for question number 7 for 2 minutes. Is the continual existence of the Northern Cheyenne Tribe, in your opinion, based more upon the federal standards and guidelines for federal recognition, or is it based upon our unique identity? Please explain your answer.
Right now it's tough to choose that either we're federally recognized tribes or we're Nachista. I think the whole reasoning for us being a federally recognized tribe is based on our uniqueness as an indigenous people. The fact that we are from this land, we have a unique language, we have distinctive cultural customs, activities, and history. I think they go hand in hand. I don't think in today's contemporary world we have to utilize both of those, I guess, concepts to exist as a people. But I would refer also to our traditions, our traditional law, that even if a government paper says I'm Cheyenne, or doesn't say I'm Cheyenne, I know I'm Cheyenne. And that is because of where I come from. We rely on our federal status for services, programs, and benefits. And also because of our land. Our land held in trust by the federal government here. And I think you combine that with, again, our culture, our ways, they have to go hand in hand. But we need our tribal government, IRA government, to start to begin a process or a more like a vision to help revitalize our culture. Because too often it's been used to destroy our ways. And I think that they do go hand in hand. I don't see no real separation with it.
Thank you. Candidate Robinson, question number 7 for 2 minutes. Is the continual existence of the Northern Cheyenne Tribe, in your opinion, based more upon the federal standards and guidelines for federal recognition, or is it based upon our unique identity? Please explain your answer.
You know, the old people, elders, long time ago, when they talked about, when they made a decision, they made that decision that's going to help our people right now. It's going to help our grandchildren and the grandchildren of our grandchildren. I don't believe there was ever any intent. There was never any intent to set aside being a tribe. And I guess that's what gets down to sovereignty. And that's what I mentioned when I first started speaking a while ago, is we hear a lot of we're sovereign, but yet there we are still standing there getting that government check, living off the government. We've had a number of years to really build our own resources, do our own economic development, and that hasn't occurred. When we are Cheyenne, we have 10,000 enrolled members, and that number is growing. Half live on the reservation, approximately half live off the reservation. That doesn't make anybody any more or any less Cheyenne. Our government has the obligation, if we don't have the government money to take care of all of our people, then we need to do our own economic development. We need to be able to provide for any member, regardless of where they live, where they reside, and what their circumstances are. That is the role of our government, and I believe that that is the historical role. So I guess I'd like to see us work our way out from under the federal dollars and be able to do our own thing.
Thank you. And Candidate Robinson, we're going to stay with you for, this is the final question under general for 2 minutes, question number 8. How do you plan to maximize the effectiveness, accountability, and transparency of boards and committees?
I think it goes right down to understanding the purpose of boards and committees. Boards and committees are, when we really got back into setting up all these committees and boards, that was when if councilmen were on the board, they didn't get paid unless they attended the board meeting. They got board paid, they got council paid, they got committee paid. But the real reason why we had these boards and committees was to involve the community in the governmental process. The community was the one that gleaned the issues from the community and brought them to the council. And they did this through resolutions. They did this by submitting their minutes of the meeting, because they had to do this in order to get paid. And that was a good way. Now we can update that now. We can update that. But my point here is, number one, we really need to take the boards and committees and put them back in the community where they belong, and where they can exercise the role that they're supposed to. Secondly, I think accountability is so important. And the way that's done is you submit the minutes. Now these days we can submit them electronically. We don't have to have a note taker sitting there writing that down. We can do that electronically. We submit them, we submit the minutes, the attendance roster, and there you've got some sort of accountability. And if they make a decision that they want the council to act on, then you require them to put it in a resolution form. They're required to go back into the people that they represent, into their districts, and they're required to let them know what they did. Our people are left out of this, out of the circle all the time, and that's what we need to bring back.
Thank you. Question number 8, candidate Killsback. 2 minutes. How do you plan to maximize the effectiveness, accountability, and transparency of boards and committees?
I think our boards need to align themselves with a tribal vision. And if that vision comes from the people, it needs to have a strategy that each program board then adheres to. And that vision has to trickle down to our programs. And if our program, for example, health, has a vision that aligns with the tribal government's vision that came from the people, then I think you would see all our programs and our community leaders who are on these boards on the same page. So we have everybody working towards a goal from all levels, from the government to the community to the administrators. Transparency for the boards is important. Making the meetings public, posting the minutes, the agenda, and having time for public comment. On the flip side of that, there has to be an organized, fair way to have our community districts, what they call them, chairpersons now, district meetings. For a long time, I've requested that these district meetings have our program board updates on their agenda. So your representative from Bernie for the Board of Health or for housing is able to give an update at your district meeting. And that's what we should require. We should mandate that those updates be given by their district representatives on their respective boards, utilities, health, give those updates at your district meetings. When you give those updates, you get feedback. You take those to your board meeting, and you're able to include community input in drafting of legislation and actions to fulfill that goal.
Thank you. Candidate Robinson. I'm sorry. Forgive me, we're trying to work out a bug here. Okay, we're moving to, that was the final question from both candidates under the general section.